Staying in the US, and of course, Donald Trump has formally accepted the Republican nomination for the election in November. The Republican National Convention comes off the back of reignited protests in Wisconsin and now Washington after the police shooting of an unarmed black man. I'm joined by Professor of Political Science at Cypress College, Peter Matthews. Hello, Peter. How did you think the president and the convention has gone?
Well, he certainly tried to boost his chances by appealing to the people, saying that he needs 4 more years to make the economy great again, and he blames the coronavirus for slowing him down, saying he had many months of growth. Never once mentioning that he took a lax approach at the beginning, which caused it. He also brought in a lot of African American prominent people: Herschel Walker, the football player, Senator Tim Scott from the Carolinas. He was a senator. He's still a senator, and he was African American. He spoke, and so he tried to show that he could actually appeal to the African American vote, at least a small fraction of it. And even if he takes a few percent in the Midwestern states, the border states that are swing states, those Midwestern states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, those states will be crucial. And if he takes a few of a percent of the African American vote, he can win those states and become president again. So he did try to boost those things up. He talked about how wonderful the future looks if he's there, and how dark and bad and dangerous it would be if Joe Biden was elected. So he used fear tactics. That's a very important way a protecting style leader would do in order to get people to follow him.
Well, how do you think it went in contrast to what the Democrats dished up?
I think that for being that it was the unusual coronavirus time when for both parties to put forth their best foot, it went okay for the Republicans. But instead, if you look at compared to the Democrats, I think did a bit better, quite a bit better, because you look at the polling, the actual audience was larger for the Democrats, even though they had gone first, and the Republicans had a chance to follow and look at their mistakes and do better. But overall, the audience numbers were larger for Democrats than the Republicans. We'll see how that actually turns out in polling. That's the most important thing.
Well, how is polling going for the election, even as we speak? Because we are days away from September. This election's in November. It is literally just around the corner.
Yes, there's been a trend, actually. Joe Biden had about a 12-point lead over Trump, President Trump, just a couple of weeks ago before, or at the convention that he had. And then that lead has shrunk actually to about 7 or 8% nationwide. And in the swing states, as I mentioned, the key states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, which Biden needs to win in order to not let Trump take those and actually win the electoral vote. In those states, it's between 3 and 6 percentage points of advantage for Biden, which is not much at all. That could swing easily in the direction of President Trump, especially, for example, if something like a vaccine gets approved and it's proven to be successful, let's say before the election. That may not happen that soon, but if it does, other things go his way, then he could pull that off in those states, and it'll be very, Democrats will have suffer a loss once again.
Have we seen a clear standout from presenters and speakers, as no doubt you've watched a lot of television the past couple of weeks?
Yes. Have we seen, excuse me, your question again, please?
I was just saying, have we seen a standout? Michelle Obama was extraordinary for the Democrats. I'm just asking you the question, over the course of both conventions, was there someone that stood out for you?
Yes, certainly on the Democratic side, Michelle Obama was outstanding. So was President Obama, who rallied the troops to make the change and to bring in Joe Biden. That was his vice president. Well, President Obama's speech was quite outstanding, and there were several other people as well. AOC didn't get to speak very long, just about 60 seconds, but she brought in the progressive side of the Democratic Party, and they need to unite those two wings, the progressive and moderate wings. On the Republican side, you heard people, speak. The president himself spoke, and he read the teleprompter very well for his own type of appeal, and he did better than when he doesn't use the teleprompter. So that's why he stuck to the speech that was written for him, and it was better than what he would do normally. When he goes off and ad-libs, then he has a real problem at times. So I think that his speech was better than expected because he read the teleprompter. I'm not sure it would work, though, given the context that a vast majority of Americans feel the country is on the wrong track. It's way over 60 or 70% that feels on the wrong track. That's hard for an incumbent president.
Huge issue at the moment. Black Lives Matter protests have reignited after the shooting of Jacob Blake. It's hoped they'll rekindle the spirit of the 60s. That's what many people are hoping.
It has bringing back reminiscence of the 60s, of the instability and protests having to do against injustice. And Jacob Blake's killing was horrendous. Shot in the back 7 or 8 times by a police officer, and he was unarmed apparently. At the same time, there's another video of not just Jacob Blake's killing, but a second video, which has come out to be called A Tale of Two Videos. The second video showed a couple of days later, another young man, a young 17-year-old white man who actually had an assault weapon, and he was going to the protests that were protesting the police killing Jacob Blake. This young white man went there armed to, he said, protect the country or the state, the area against rioters, and he actually ended up shooting and killing 2 of the protesters. And this is a tremendously dangerous time in that sense, and it's going to have an impact on the election, depending on how it's handled by both sides.
Just finally, when Dr. Anthony Fauci talks, most people listen. He's one of the preeminent medical minds in the country, infectious diseases expert, of course. He's a couple of years away from 80. He's seen most things, and he's saying that a vaccine could be presented by Christmas. What are your thoughts?
I think it is possible because there have been several vaccines internationally being tried. In fact, the Moderna vaccine has been on the 3rd stage, the final stage of trials going into right now. And so that's done in a couple of months, and it comes out the vaccine is safe and effective. It could be on being able to be utilized by the end of December, beginning of January. It's very possible. It's probably going to be at least January, but maybe a little bit later than that. And I think it's looking good, though, much better than what it did just a few months ago. The question is, will American people take the vaccine? There's an anti-vax movement in this country that can be dangerously effective against us having protection because these folks are suspicious of any vaccines. I do believe people will take it, and 70% or 80% take it, and we get some sort of national herd immunity. That could be a tremendous thing to get people back to work and the economy going again as well.
Yeah,
saving a lot of lives.
A strong discussion here about no vaccination, no play. So being banned from restaurants, aircrafts, all sorts of things. And I think it's going to be very interesting when the vaccine does come online. Peter Matthews, Professor of Political Science at Cyprus College. It is always a delight to have a chat. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Same to you, Tim. Thank you.
Well, as we